I had to go through the process of re-editing and re-uploading this video because it was flagged as a copyrighted video because of the background music. So that is why you're seeing this again. But then if you're seeing it for the first time, thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like this video if it's of any help, and subscribe if you want to, or you're interested in sewing with me. Go ahead and subscribe. And yes, let's just dive into this. Okay, for the OGs, welcome back. Go ahead and like. Okay, you're the OG, like this video. All right, so on my table here I have my fabric folded into two, and this fabric here is going to be for the front piece. Now let me show you guys the length. The length I'll be working with for the skirt is 30 inches. So go ahead and make this as long as you want. For me, I'm using 30 inches. And the width I'll be working with is my round hip divided by 4 plus 5 inches allowance. Okay, so we need the allowance to be so much because we are going to be ruching the front part of the skirt, so we need the allowance. So like I said, this is the front piece. What I'll do now is from the top of the fabric, I'll go down and mark my hip point. You can see where my tape is. That's the top of the fabric. That's my waist point. I place the tape from that waist. Now I'm going down by 10 inches to mark my hip point. Now normally my hip point is 9 inches when I'm making a skirt with a band, but because this particular skirt is not going to have a band, I'm adding 1 more inches to my hip point so that this sits as a high waist skirt, okay, without a band. So go ahead and add 1 inch to your hip measurements. Like if your hip point is 8, go ahead and mark 9. If it's 9, go ahead and mark 10, and if it's 10, go ahead and mark 11. Okay. And the next thing I'll do is divide my round waist by 4, and I'll mark that on the top of the fabric. Like I said, the top is my waist point already by default, so I don't need to indicate that. I'll add half an inch allowance to that, and at this point you can just go ahead and add the allowance you want to your measurements, but I'm using half an inch. I'll go down to my hip point and I'll divide my round hip by 4 and mark that down on the hip line. I hope the markings are visible to you. Like I said, this is a re-upload, so this is an old clip, but then I hope this is still helpful to you. Next thing we're going to do is connect the waist measurement to the hip. I'm going to connect this from the waist, but when I get to the hip, I'm going to make sure I pass my round hip at least by 1 or 2 inches. So where I marked my round hip divided by 4, I'm just going to pass that line by at least 2 inches or more. Okay, so why we need this to be bigger than our hip measurement is the fact that it's going to be ruched in the front, like on the front of the skirt. It's going to be ruched, so we need that allowance so that when we make the ruche, it's just going to sit properly. Now what I'm doing now is showing you guys how much extra I added. Okay, I added 2 inches extra. I'll go ahead and cut this out. So when I marked that and I passed that measurement, I went down to the length. So you see what I did. My hand just started from the waist, past the hip measurement, and then we just took it down to the, this is like creating an A-line, okay, but not like fully A-line. So the next thing I'm going to do is indicate the center front of the skirt. Now why am I doing this? I need that center front to be visible when I'm about to make the ruche, so I need to know the center line. At this point, if you have a pressing iron, go ahead and iron this. It's going to give you that middle line already, but then I did not do that. I just used my chalk to indicate the middle line. So I'll continue doing this from the waist down to the length. I'm just going to connect to know the middle line, so when I'm ready to make the ruche, I already know the line I'm going to make the ruche on. So that is it for the front piece. We're going to go ahead and cut the back piece. So the back piece here, I have my fabric folded into 2, and this fabric is wider than the front piece by at least 2 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and mark my zip allowance, and I'm marking 1.5 inch in from the center of the fabric, okay? From where I have the fold of my fabric, I'm marking 1.5 inch in. So this is going to be for my zip allowance. And now I'm just going to bring in the front piece, and I'll place this after the zip allowance, that line I have indicated for the zip. I'll place the front piece after that line, and then I'm just going to adjust my zip measurements. So on the length of my skirt, I'll mark 1 inch. On the zip side, I'm adjusting, so I'll mark 1 inch on the length, and when I get to the hip, I'll mark 5 inches down, and that is where my 1 inch is going to stop for the zip. So I'll place my tape on the hip, I'll go down by 5 inches, and then I'll mark 1 inch there. I'll connect this down to the length, and then I'll go to the waist also. I'll mark 1 inch in for the zip, 1 inch here for the zip, 1 inch here for the zip. But when I get to the hip, I'm going to leave the 1.5 I have there, okay? So I'm going to leave the 1.5, and now I'm going to cut. I hope this was clear. I hope this was understandable by you. Okay, I hope this wasn't confusing. So what we just did was adjust the zip. Now I have other videos that I did the marking on pattern papers or something that is clear, okay? In case you want to see that, just search for any skirt video that I did with pattern. You understand this adjusting. So the next thing I'm doing is tracing out the front piece on the back piece, and we're done. So this is what I have. This is the front piece, and the other one is a back piece. So your back piece should be 2, okay? You should have 2 pieces for your back piece. Now the next we're going to do is facing. Facing is a small piece of fabric that is used to finish the fabric edges, and you can use this for neckline, you can use this for waistline. I have like a whole video talking about facing. So what I'm doing now is folding my fabric here for the facing into 2. And this fabric here is just 3 inches long, okay? So when you cut your facing, you just determine how long you want it to be. I'll place the waist on my front piece. This is the front piece. I'll place the waist, and I'll place it like this on the fabric, and I'll just trace, okay? Making sure that the edges are equal, the top is equal, and I'm just trimming the sides, okay? And automatically here I have the facing. I just traced my skirt piece on this facing, and I have my facing. So what I'll do is go hem the base of my facing, and then sew the facing to the front piece like this. Right side facing right side. I'll sew by 1/2 inch. So what I'm doing here, I'll repeat on the back piece, okay? I'll cut out the facing for the back piece, and then I'll hem the base of the facing, and then I'll sew the facing to the main piece, okay? So this is the back piece. I have 2 pieces, like I said, because of the zip. I'm just folding in fabric into 2, the same length like the first one, and I'm just going to place the waist like this, and I'll trace the side and also trace the center back, okay? Why? Because the zip, this part is the center back, the zip has to be shaped there, and then I'll trace the sides, and I have my facing automatically. I'll take each piece that rhyme with each piece, like right side facing right side, and then same here, right side facing right side. I'll also hem the base and then sew. So what I'll do now is iron, okay? What I want to show you guys here is how I'll iron my facing, so that it's just going to stick to the main piece of the fabric, okay, of my skirt piece. I'm going to be using hemming gum for this. I'll use my hemming gum to glue my facing base to the skirt piece. So but before then, you just have to make sure that everything lays really flat, okay? So this is the hemming gum. So I'll place my hemming gum in between my facing and the fabric, the main piece, and then I'll iron this down. So what this just do is, or what this does is just help you hold your facing and your fabric together, and you're good, okay? Now this part is actually optional. Most people don't like to use facing, they just do it like that, but I like to. I don't know why. Something I started when I was learning how to sew, and I just continued, okay? So this is how all your piece should look, okay? All your pieces, or all your pieces, this is how they should look, okay? Now let's go ahead and join. We're going to start out by joining the back piece together, and what we're going to do first is place the two pieces of the back together and go sew by 1 inch. So place your two pieces like this together. I'm just going to indicate where my zip is going to sit, and my zip is going to sit 8 inches down from the waist. Okay, so the rest down I'll be sewing by 1 inch. So this part is for the zip, and the rest is going to be sewn in by 1 inch. And once I'm done, I'll place the both of them together, my back piece and my front piece together. I'll sew the sides by 1/2 inch. So done, I'm done with the process. This is how it looks. So what I'm going to do before I ruche the front is hem the base of the skirt, okay? I'll go ahead and hem the base by 1/2 inch, fold twice, and hem. Done. The last step is for us to create the ruche. I have my middle line indicated already, and I don't know if you guys can see, but I can see it. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and use my needle and thread and follow that line like this, okay? I'm just going to make it gather, like I'm going to make gathers first before I use my elastic. I'm just going to use my needle and thread and follow the line like this. So I'm gathering the center front. And I'll sew it like this. Now I have this gathered. I'll take it to the sewing machine and use my elastic on it, okay? So I'm not gathering to the length. I'm just going to stop at least 5 inches before the length, okay? I'll use this elastic to hold this together. And this will automatically create the ruche for me, okay? So you can go ahead and just use the thread that matches this to create the ruche, just gather and stop. But I decided to use elastic because I wanted it to be falling. I just wanted it to have this look, okay? And this is the final result. I hope this video was of help. Go ahead and like if you'd like the outcome. And yeah, that is it. I'll be seeing you guys on the next flagged video. I'm just going to make sure I upload the 3 of them back together. But anyways, thank you guys for sticking with me to the end, even though you've seen it before. I love you guys so much. I'll be seeing you guys on my next video. Love and light to you all. Bye for now.